thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the program, and happy early Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving, Ken. It's good to be with you.
And got the news late yesterday afternoon that the Center for Biological Diversity is not giving up in their quest to ban lead ammunition and lead sinkers. They are challenging the EPA for their denial of the petitions to ban lead ammo and lead shot earlier this year. You and the NSSF have announced your intentions to file a motion to intervene in this case. What exactly does that mean, Larry?
Well, no, they're not giving up, and so their lawsuit against the EPA was not unexpected. They had threatened and promised to do that as recently as earlier this week at some meetings that were held by the American Bird Conservancy, one of the petitioners in the group, saying that they were going to file a challenge. So we've been anticipating this, and we had announced previously that we will file a motion and are in the process of filing a motion to intervene in the case to represent the interests of the industry, to make sure that the will of Congress is adhered to, and that there is not some settlement between the EPA and the petitioners, the Center for Biodiversity, that would result in a consent order signed by a judge that would impose the ban through a court order rather than by rulemaking through the EPA. And we think the EPA made the entirely correct decision when it denied the petition based on the clear express language in the relevant statute that the Center for Biodiversity is trying to use here, the Toxic Substance Control Act. Clearly, Congress said back in the 1970s that the EPA would not have jurisdiction over ammunition under this act, and so we think the EPA made the correct decision. We want to make sure that they stand by that decision, and we want to make sure that some court does not misinterpret the language in the act and impose by a court order the petition that the center seeks, or to order the EPA to go back and commence rulemaking, because we think the language is very clear, and we think the legislative history is very clear, and it's been the EPA's position for decades that lead, when it is in the manufacturing stream to make ammunition, is outside the purview of the EPA under the Act. Lead in other applications, organic lead, or like in making lead paint, etc., that's a different matter. And we're not saying that the EPA doesn't have jurisdiction over lead entirely. It's just when it's used in the manufacturing stream, and that's the EPA's phrasing, the manufacturing stream, it is outside the purview of the statute, and we think that's entirely correct. And as you mentioned, the EPA also denied the other aspect of the petition on fishing tackle, saying that the center had not made the necessary showing under the act that banning, the draconian act of banning lead fishing tackle was necessary. And certainly, even aside from the express statutory exemption that takes the subject matter of ammunition outside of the purview of the EPA, even if that were not the case, the center also can't make that necessary showing with respect to ammunition, because the use of traditional ammunition for hunting and target shooting, etc., is not having an adverse impact on wildlife populations as a general matter.
Yeah.
I mean, they for example, cite in their petition bald eagles.
The bald eagle population is growing, isn't it?
They've been delisted as an endangered species. The comeback of the eagle, the bald eagle, has been paid for by the very ammunition that the petitioners seek to demonize. The excise tax dollars generated by the sale of that ammunition is what paid for conservation and allowed the eagle to be delisted. And there are so many pairs of nesting pairs of bald eagles now that state fish and game agencies have stopped doing surveys to count them because they're so plentiful.
Jeez, now that is that's really egregious, Larry. What are they saying, that the eagle population is declining, or are they just making stuff up? What are they?
Well, they're making up. Look, this is all based on agenda-driven junk science.
Mm-hmm.
They say there are 75 species of birds that if a member of that population consumes lead will have adverse consequences for the health of that particular animal. And they don't talk about wildlife populations because they can't talk about wildlife populations because the very species that they talk about are those populations are thriving and are not endangered or not threatened, and it isn't a problem. And again, because they're asking the wrong question. The center is. They're asking, does it impact that particular animal? And that's not the relevant question. The relevant question is it having an adverse impact on the population? Because wildlife professionals manage populations not to prevent harm to individual animals. Because if this becomes about preventing harm to individual animals, you've just made the argument to ban hunting. What's the difference?
Yeah.
And of course, that's ultimately the entire point of this all, is it is about banning hunting. And that's why they're doing this.
Well, absolutely. And this is why we're going to continue to pay close attention to this. The Center for Biological Diversity, when they first announced this campaign, they said this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for that organization, and they're not going to go quietly away. So we're going to continue paying attention to this. And Larry, when there are updates and new information, just let us know. We'll be happy to have you on again.
Well, we will be filing, if not this afternoon, first thing bright and early Monday morning, so we'll be sure to get you a copy of the complaint. You'll be the second person to get a copy of the complaint.
Right after the judge. All right.
That's right.
I'm okay with that. Hey, Larry, thank you again, sir.
And you enjoy your bird this weekend.
I plan on it. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday. We'll talk to you soon.